Today we are diving into the topic of white balance to find out if is it that important when taking still images, especially when you are doing focus stacking, panoramas or other type of image blending techniques or not. Let's find out. Hi everyone, my name is Hamed Bank and I am a landscape and nature photographer based in Sweden. I often hear this advice from other photographers to make it right in the camera. You must set a manual white balance, especially for focus stacking, panoramas or those type of image blending techniques. This is something I do all the time as well. Well, in this video, I want to put that idea into a test and see if that is really that important. So is white balance important for still images, focus stacking, panoramas and so on? Answer might not be as you think. After watching this video, your approach to white balance might be a little bit different. If you stick to the end of this video, I will tell you exactly when you need to set the white balance in your camera and when you don't. What is white balance? White balance temperature refers to the color temperature of the light in a scene measured in Kelvin. It describes the warmth and the coolness of the light source, which directly affect the colors in your photo. Low color temperature comes from light sources with the lower Kelvin value, around 2000 to 4000 Kelvin, produce warmer tones. High color temperatures comes from higher Kelvin values above 5000 K, producing cooler tones such as blue and white. Daylight, considered neutral light, has a Kelvin range about 5500 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. It's neither warm or too cool, and is often used as a standard reference in photography. White balance play a crucial role in photography, ensuring that the colors in your photo looks natural. It is very important, especially in portrait photography, to get the most accurate skin tones. Most cameras have an auto white balance setting which automatically tries to determine the best white balance for the scene. To put white balance into the test, I took several shots of the same scene using different white balance settings: auto, daylight, cloudy, you name it. Well, here is the set of images I took in the same scene with different white balance settings. I have 8 images here. As you can see, each of them has different colors. Some of them are much warmer, and I just wanted to see if these images will blend together or can I make them look the same. So if I pick up the first one and try to copy the settings from the first one into the others, and as you can see here, I copy and I try to paste, nothing happens. The reason is the white balance setting on this image set to be as shot, and this is the same setting in all of those other variants or other images. So when I copy and paste it, it's basically copying the same settings, which is white balance as shot. So nothing changes. If as soon as I change the white balance a little bit and copy, and now I can paste it into all other images, as you can see here, they all look the same. So if I scroll between those images, you can see the only thing is changing between these shots is the fog and light and clouds that have moved, but nothing else changes. The colors look the same to me, the settings and everything else are the same. So basically they are the same image. But how is it when it comes to image blending, panoramas or focus stacking, HDR image blending techniques? For the next test, I took 3 different exposures from the same scene to blend them together as HDR image. The first one is exposed for the highlight in the sky. The middle image, it has a normal exposure, and the image on the right has overexposed. As you can see also, I changed the white balance between these shots manually. So the first image is very warm. Also the middle image is sort of warm, and the last image is much more cooler. To blend these images into one image as HDR image, I didn't change any settings before I merged them. I just right click on one of these and select the merge to HDR. I make sure the auto adjust is off, only auto align is on. So we don't want the software to adjust the colors for us. We just want it to be aligned before merge to HDR. Here is the result, and as you can see, the image is quite warm. It probably picked up the white balance from the first image. Let's see how the colors look like in the shadow areas, which it picked up from the other exposures. To see the result, and yeah, I don't see any weird colors going on. It looks like everything has the same color temperature, so like it was taken with the same white balance settings for all of these exposures. So far it looks good, right? So let's test it in panoramas, because panoramas are a little bit more tricky. You take an image from one side of the sky when probably you have the sun into the frame, and you move your way out to the other side of the scene or other side of the sky. And the camera, if you set it into a auto white balance, it might change the white balance settings between these shots, because when you have the sun, it might read it differently when you're pointing your camera at something else. So to test that idea and to exaggerate this, I did the same test took several images of same scene, and I changed the white balance settings between the exposures manually. I took these 5 photos from one side to the other side of the field. The same idea, same test. So let's put them together and stitch them together as panorama. Let's see how it works. I select all of these and right click on one of them and select stitch to panorama. Here is my panorama now, and I don't see any color changes from one side of the frame to the other side. But if you look at the examples or the exposures in the bottom of the screen, you can see they have different colors, different color temperatures. But when the software stitched them together, it looks like that it took care of the white balance difference between these exposures. Let's hit the stitch, and here is my panorama image. But again, to make sure that it is nothing weird is going on, let's bring down the highlights, open up the shadows, and look at the colors. I don't see any color shifts or any issues with the color. I think this is pretty darn good panorama. Very nice colors in the sky and good colors in the foreground. I can change the white balance here to make it a little bit warmer if I want. As you can see, each set of images with different initial white balance was edited to the same white balance value, and they look the same. Whether it was the auto white balance, daylight, or other presets, there was no difference between the edited images. I used Capture One for my edits, but I did the same test in Lightroom, but the result was exactly the same. So when it comes to focus stacking, panoramas, or any other image blending, consistency in white balance is crucial. But does that mean you must worry about setting it manually every time? Based on this test, setting a consistent white balance in editing software overrides the initial settings that you made in your camera when you took the images. This is a great news, especially for those who like to shoot faster and worry about this kind of details later, like me. And this can save you time, allowing you to focus on your composition, your lighting, and the overall creative process of making your images, and let the white balance be whatever it is, and you can change it later on in post-process. I promised you to give you insight about when you need to set the white balance manually in your camera and when you don't. But before we do that, please hit the like button if you found this video helpful and you liked it. To answer that question, if you take photos in JPEG, you need to set the white balance in camera, because you cannot change it afterwards like you can do with RAW files. As you know, RAW files contain all the information gathered by your camera, but in JPEGs, the information is baked into the files, and they are not as flexible anymore as the RAW files are. Also, if you record any type of moving pictures like videos and time lapses and so on, you need to set the white balance manually to avoid any surprises and headaches in edits. But if you take still photos and your camera can record that in RAW, which I suggest you do, then white balance is not as crucial, even for panoramas or any other sort of image blending. But remember to set the white balance in all the images before you start merging them together, especially if you want to send them to third-party software like Photoshop, for instance. If you want to do the focus stacking in Photoshop, you need to set the white balance for all of the exposures, and then you can export them to Photoshop. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you will never miss a new video. Let me know in the comments what white balance settings do you usually use. Do you trust auto white balance of your camera, or do you set it manually every time? I would like to hear your thoughts. If you would like to learn more about editing in Capture One, I have a video for you to start with. So go ahead and watch that video, and see you next time.